Here we have 50 tomatoes lined with down the sides with 276, I think, onions, I think is what I planted. And this is gonna have the lower and lean method. So all of these tomatoes will have a single main vine or stem. This tomato here comes down and is rooted back here. And so now the tomato that's rooted there, I'm gonna move over to this zip tie and it will get lowered and leaned. All right, to lower, you're gonna grab the spool and the string, pinch this to lower it out. That's one. That's two. So now it's hanging. So now I'll be able to move this plant over to the other side. So now I'm gonna move this little stopper back and take it off of the zip tie. And it's very heavy, so I'm gonna have two hands. And I'm going to start rotating this plant. See here. So now I need to hook this to that PVC and see if I need to let any more line out. So I just finished moving this tomato from the back now to the front. So here's an example of one that's just starting. So right here, this is what's called a sucker, so it'll grow diagonally out. Some of these leaves on the bottom are much lighter and even have some, this is sunburn. And then up here, since I've been hardening them off in the hoop house and now out here, this is that much thicker, nicer, deep green leaf versus the indoor leaves like this that don't have that extra sun protection. So it's kind of fun to see it. So as I'm coming through here, I'm going to actually just prune off all these lower leaves, and then I'm going to actually bury these tomatoes up to probably about here. I'll even prune off anything that's going to touch for the start. I'll stake all of these, and then from there we'll get all of the lower and lean trellising set up. So it's 27 feet long bed, and we have 50 tomatoes. As you look from this angle, you can see all of them. So pretty excited about this. I think it's gonna look really amazing. There's a mix of big beef, Cherokee carbon, and Rutgers. And Rutgers is that Campbell's soup one that I couldn't remember what it was. It is 4 of the short 8-in-1 beds put together. And so we do have the extra corner pieces. We did add 4 supports. We did a support here midway, 2 supports in the center, 1 low, 1 high, and then another support down that way. So I got the first row of 25 tomatoes. Most of these on the front here up to about here are Cherokee carbon, and then the rest of these are big beef. You'll notice that I did prune them, so any leaves that were downward facing or that were in the bottom few inches, I did prune, or that had some sunburning from hardening off. We're gonna actually use the new mill to make posts, I think, for the trellising that we want to do on this bed. I need to come back in tonight and finish staking up the rest of these so that they don't get too worried by the wind, although they seem to be fine. Temps again tonight will be plenty warm. I just looked again, and I think the lowest it said it was 48 or 49 for the next week. So doing pretty good. yeah, just super excited about this. It's gonna be a fun experiment to see if this works. Usually you do a foot in between tomatoes and greenhouses when you're doing low and lean. But again, this is obviously outside. It is protected by the wind between the greenhouse and the rest of these beds, and then the tunnel once that fills up. Good morning. It's a nice foggy morning this morning. Just very warm. I think the low last night was 58 or so Fahrenheit. End of spring. Got our new bed is now finally planted. It's actually the first real bed to be planted out here besides the garlic items. It's 27 feet long. It's 4 of the short, low Birdies 8-in-1s put together with 4 supports in it. Has 276 onions, I believe. That's what I counted. And 50 tomatoes, 3 varieties of tomatoes, Big Beef, Cherokee Carbon, and Rutgers. They are going to be grown in a lower and lean method, which is typical for a greenhouse, where you grow the tomatoes as a true vine, not a bush. All of these are indeterminate, and so there will be a trellis, and each one of these will have a spool with a hook. So as the tomatoes grow up to the top of the trellis, then you just lower the string down and move the hook to the next one. You also make sure to prune any of the tomato suckers, which are the growths that happen, I'll try to show you here, in that little diagonal 45-degree angle of the tomato. So as those come in, you make sure to cut those because you want it to have one main branch for lower and lean. You do have to worry about wind, but we have this between the hoop house and the other beds, and then the tunnel actually at the end, which you can't even see with the fog, really. That will help also the wind from that side. So this is pretty well protected in this space. Tomato plants can get 20 feet long in one season. So it just continues to concentrate the growth, and so as the tomatoes grow up, I just continue to trim down any growth, any leaves or suckers from the first fruit set down when it first starts. And then once you have a fruit set, then as your plant gets taller, like 4 or 5 feet tall for the first time, I'll actually prune the leaves up to the top fruit set. So you'll just have fruit for the bottom, 2 feet underneath that. And that will help again concentrate the growth on upwards and the fruit that it has, instead of branching off into a lot of other areas.